having Margaret Cho on the show, that rhymes, sorry. Just having a moment.
There's something about the word show that we have to say repeatedly, right?
Okay. Episode. That would be so much help.
1, 2, 3. Post Show and Tell with Dr. Ken.
Welcome to Post Show and Tell with Dr. Ken. We're here to talk about the episode Dr. Wendi Coming to LA. I'm your host, Joz Wang. This is my guest co-host.
Hi, I'm Lauren Alexander Sowa, and I'm an actor and media academic.
So Lauren, tell us about this episode and what happens in it.
Well, this was actually a really exciting episode because we had Margaret Cho come as a guest star, and she was playing Dr. Wendi, who is Ken's sister, who's also a doctor. And she is a very successful doctor and the host of her own TV show, The Dr. Wendi Show. Some pretty great Dr. Wendi swag here. And during the course of the episode, Dr. Ken is secretly really jealous of his sister's success, and she wants to try to share her success with him and invites him on her show, and he just makes a mockery of it.
So Lauren, tell me about the favorite part of this episode for you.
Well, for me, it was definitely seeing Margaret Cho as the guest star of the show, and I think it's always great to see strong female characters. And it's also kind of an interesting return. Would you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, like there's a lot that was already said on social media about Margaret Cho coming back to primetime TV, but in particular in this role. It's not a mystery. 20 plus years ago, Margaret Cho had her own sitcom, All American Girl, which was on the same network, ABC. But it was a different time, and frankly, the show was not a success. And she was embattled at the time to be headlining a show at a very young age where I think the network didn't know how to deal with somebody with that kind of character. And so she had a very difficult time. But by doing the show, she actually opened doors for others. And actually, Jeong talks about how her show made it possible for shows like Fresh Off the Boat and for Dr. Ken.
Having Margaret Cho on the episode was significant to many of the cast members, and we'd like to revisit some of the conversations we've had with them previously.
I have to give a shout out to Margaret Cho, who's the original pioneer of this. If it wasn't, we all owe a debt of gratitude to Margaret. And by the way, she plays my sister on an episode that we shot.
Can you talk about how that came together?
Yeah.
Because that's such a full circle moment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is how it came out. I mean, I wrote an episode, wanted her as my sister. I texted her. She said yes. Sight unseen. That was that simple, and it just gave me more motivation to like, okay, I got to write. We got to come up with as best a character as we did. And I just saw a rough cut of the episode last night, and it turned out really well.
Yeah, we were at the taping for that, and it was there was
right.
such an extra energy that night.
It was the most special night. Yeah. I think it was the most historic night of our series so far.
Totally.
Was having Margaret there, and not only that, at the end of the taping, Margaret was like, you know, I've been waiting a long time for this, and it's come full circle. And Margaret, she sent me the nicest text that later that night was, you.
With emoji or just the straight text?
No, it was really.
It was very poignant.
It was very poignant. Yeah, and then she sent me a lovely text, basically how important it was for her to be on this show, and it got me emotional thinking about it because I don't know, it was very moving, and when I think about it, it just to have her stamp of approval on what we're doing and to have her full support, and I don't know, she's so humble and you guys have met her. She couldn't be more warm and affable.
So a lot of this episode revolved around the rivalry between Dr. Ken and Dr. Wendi. I had a sibling myself, but you know, we're close in age, and also we just didn't have the same interests. So we didn't have a lot of rivalry growing up, and you don't have any siblings.
Right, I'm an only child, so I avoided that entire conflict altogether.
But even so, like, I really related to what was going on with the jealousy and just the feeling of like the one-upsmanship that was going on. You know, just I felt that maybe not with a sibling, but with just people in similar industries as me or people with similar interests as me.
Oh, absolutely, especially in this episode because Dr. Wendi and Dr. Ken are both medical doctors. So it sets them up for a comparison with each other right away.
And they're successful, but they're both successful in different ways.
Absolutely, and I think that that's something that in the episode they really come to realize. We also talked to Jonathan Slaven on the set.
So in the Dr. Wendi episode, some of my favorite scenes were when Clark was in the audience, the fake studio audience of the Dr. Wendi show.
Very exuberantly in support of Ken at the Dr. Wendi show when they threw down a little. The sibling relationship is complicated. I have siblings, it's complicated. But like and they had a little issue, and Clark was definitely Team Ken, which was hard because Margaret is amazing, and because I was instantly madly in love with Margaret, like just passionately in gay love with Margaret, and so it was really hard for me to like pretend that I was mad at her, but I did it.
Cool.
I did it.
I know, so hard.
She's amazing. She's amazing. I mean, like, just I have to say, like, as like as a gay actor, as like a you know, she is a trailblazer in so many ways. Like, I know for the Asian community, but also for the queer community, Margaret Cho is like, I was a little in awe, but we're friends now. Mm-hmm. We are jealous.
So if we want to be friends with you on social media, how do we follow you?
I'm on everything now. I was on nothing. I was awful at social media, but I'm on Twitter at Slavin_Jonathan. Right? That's what I mean. And I'm on Facebook, my name, Jonathan Slaven, and I'm on the Instagram, also as Slavin_Jonathan. The Instagram. It's like I'm 90. I'm on the Instagram.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you
we'll
so
talk to you
much.
more in the future when we see more of Clark.
Perfect. Thanks, Joz.
You are incredible. If I had a famous sister like Dr. Wendi, I would be so jealous. And yet you are just glaring at me.
You know, what's there to be jealous of? She's just a mid-level television personality who nobody even knows.
Oh my God, it's Dr. Wendi!
Oh my God. Can I have your autograph?
This is someone's discharge papers.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Girl, I gotta admit, I didn't love you at first, but you have grown on me, and he has shrunk on me.
Dr. Wendi, hi, I'm Pat Heim. I'm the medical director here at Welltopia Woodland Hills, and we would just love it if you could do a segment on us.
Well, I guess I could do something about the sad state of mid-level corporatized medicine.
Name the day.
So in this episode, one of the funniest scenes is when Dr. Wendi shows up to the HMO and everybody is starstruck. Have you ever been starstruck?
You know, usually I'm not very starstruck. Here, living in LA, you see celebrities all the time, and I just, as an actor, I recognize they're just people too. Except, actually, this past weekend I was at a screening, and Mary Lynn Ricegub, who plays Chloe O'Brien on 24, was sitting right in front of me. And I wrote my thesis on the representation of women in crime drama television. There's a whole section on her. And so I had to say hi, and I was just so overwhelmed and excited to meet her. And that was the first time I've really acted starstruck since being here in LA. But what about you, Joz? Do you get starstruck easily? Or?
You know, I don't really get starstruck easily, but the strange people that I do get starstruck by are people that I actually can interact with from time to time. And one of them is Grant Gershon, who is a choral director. And I see him all the time, and we interact on Twitter, but inside I'm always having like a fangirl moment or fangirl fainting. It's completely embarrassing inside. So I try to hold it together and not be that fangirl when I actually interact with him, but I just can't help it. So anyway, what about you? Have you been starstruck, or who from the Dr. Ken set would be somebody you'd be starstruck with? Let us know in the comments, tweet at us at Post Show and Tell, like us, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much for joining us, Lauren.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
We'll see you at the next Post Show and Tell.